Hello, I'm Stuart Bloor, that's the River Severn, and that's a bottle of Pepsi Max. I've only had a few swigs, as you can see, it's half gone. Just arrived, beautiful summer's day. But before I actually get into the fishing, let me introduce my guest for the week, Chris Ponsford. Chris has fished for many different species, but probably to many anglers is synonymous with barbel. And so when I asked Chris if he could remember his first fish, and he couldn't, but he said, I can remember my first barbel, I thought, brilliant, that's going to be a great spot for a barbel entry into my angling journal. So over to Chris.
I do remember my first barbel. It was caught on the Bristol Avon. You're going to ask me when, but it was probably back in the 70s, I should think. There wasn't many on the river in those days, and it was about £6, caught on lobworms, those old-fashioned baits that nobody seems to use anymore. This was before we even started using luncheon meat and and all the pellets had come in. And it was caught on a Peter Stone Ledger Master, £6 line and a Mitchell 300 reel, and caught in a floodwater conditions, ledgering with Arlesey bomb, which we're used to in those days, in a big slack just below the bridge at Limpy Stoke on Bristol Avon. So yeah, it was a great experience, thoroughly enjoyed doing it, and been addicted to catching a few ever since.
Thanks Chris, that was great. It's great to have those memories, isn't it, when we can remember our first fish, our first barbel, first double figure barbel, whatever it might be. It's always good to remember those particular fish. Anyway, this Pepsi Max has been going down my channel, and talking of channels, I'm going to put some bait out now. This is my tub. Hold that up there to the camera, you can see in the bottom. I've got some seeds, pigeon conditioner seeds, see them there. They've been soaked beforehand, of course, and then to the seeds, while they were still with a little bit of liquid in them, I added some corn steep liquor, did all this at home, and then I added some brown crumb and some wheat. Added all that in, mixed it all up. I am fishing with 14mm lobworm boilies, so in with the mix I've added a few of those, and of course I'll add some of the boilies to the PVA bag that I cast out with to give a little concentrated part of the swim that I'm putting the stuff out to. So I'm going to mix all that up. The river is low, and there's well, I say low, it's still 20 feet deep in places. This is the lower Severn, but it's low relatively speaking. Not much flow, certainly more flow on the Staffs Worcestershire Canal when the boats come through. So I'm just going to put it out by hand, mould this into balls, and I'm going to bait two places about a third of the way across, one quite downstream and the other one just ahead of me, maybe slightly downstream. Put the bait there, and then I'll think about getting set up and letting everything settle and fishing and finishing my Pepsi Max off on Thursday. That's the bait ready to put out now. As you can see, some of those balls of bait are quite big. I would say cooking apple size. No finesse here. Get them out, get them on the bed of the river, and then we'll let it settle. Feel like Jeff Capes. If you don't know who Jeff Capes is, you're younger than I am. Anybody my age will remember Jeff Capes. Just got the one rod out. I'll go through some of the details here. Of course, I write in a little bit more detail in the article as always, so check that out, because there's stuff in there that you don't find in the video. The video and the article complement one another. I fished a 14mm lobworm boilie. That's the boilie there. There's the pack of them from SBS, and I've dipped the boilie in some dip there, and then in the PVA bag I've added some standard trout pellets. You can see them there, and also some concentrated corn steep liquor pellets. Now when we think of corn steep liquor, we often think of carp, but I actually used pretty much the same products, bait products for carp and for barbel, and successfully as well. And so these particular pellets, they're a little bit larger. I use the larger ones for the river, smaller ones for still waters, canals, lakes and so on. These will break down, and as it tells you on the packet, they break down and they do create that little bit of an extra additive to bring the fish in and to induce them to feed. And then back to the boilies, I add a few of these loose boilies into the PVA bag as well. Definitely worth getting if you've got kids. You might not fish, so what am I saying there? Well, on the back is a picture of Des Taylor, and if your kids won't go to sleep at night, just show them a picture of Des. That'll soon send them to bed. So, got that one rod out. I'm about to get the second one out now. I've now got both rods out. I'm here for the night, and on that, let me say that safety is a very, very important issue if you fish at night, and particularly if you fish on your own, like I do. Taking a mobile phone with you isn't an optional extra. That should be the first thing that you pack when you think about going night fishing. And then of course there's the place where you fish. Now it's very dry at the moment, and it's going to be a dry night, and so I've got no issues with wet banks, muddy banks, slipping into the water. But just in the event that I do, I've chosen a swim where it's very shallow right in front of me. In fact, for some feet out into the river, it's just inches deep. That's very, very important. There might be better swims that you could perhaps choose to fish, but safety is very, very important. I'm fishing a tight little spot. I couldn't get a shelter up if I wanted to, so I'm tucked in here for the night. It is forecast to be dry all through the night, no chance of a shower at all, and so my faith and trust is in the weather forecasters tonight. But I want to really stress that for those of us that do night fishing, particularly if you're not experienced at night fishing. I've spent probably months and months and months of my life, if you added it together, out on the bank, on the river and still waters, canals, the whole lot. But if you've never night fished before and you're considering it, it isn't a laddish thing to do. You know, a group of guys go out with a crate of beer or anything like that. Don't drink. I don't drink anyway, so for me it's not a problem. But if you do, don't take drink out with you when you're night fishing. Certainly it's a very, very serious thing, and to choose the swim carefully when you decide to do that. I had a fish on. It's not a barbel though, a chub. Nice chub. Probably hear it going there. In the net. There it is. Look at the gob on that. It makes a 14mm boilie look so small. Let's get it back. I'm into a barbel now for sure. I'm about to net it as well. Brilliant. Got my barbel. I've just released it, photographed it, and you'll see that in the article. And there's my PVA bag of pellets, corn steep liquor pellets. That's trout pellets, you know, standard pellets, corn steep liquor pellets, boilies, and of course, right in the centre of it all, my hook bait. Going back out now. Definitely on a roll tonight. I'm about to drop down the bank and net my second barbel, and that's an achievement on the lower Severn. Sometimes you'd think there were no fish in here, but I'm proving that wrong. Good morning. I just had my third barbel of the session. Let's get it back. I've had a busy night, lots and lots of chub, some of them quite good as well. Also a bream. You can't come to the lower Severn without catching a bream. And that was my third barbel, caught right at the end of the session. The video now comes to an end, but the article continues. And so if you want to find out things from this session that I haven't recorded on the video, such as tackle and what sort of hooks I used and all that sort of thing, that will be in the article. And also where I will be next as well, because although the video stops at this point, my barbel adventures still continue, and at this moment in time even I don't know where I will be next, but you can read all about it in my angling journal.